Hello, we're in Granby, Massachusetts. We're in the West Street Cemetery, also called West Cemetery. There's only two cemeteries in Granby. And in the year 2024, I'm going to have tours, and both of them, plus I'm going to have a discussion at the Granby Library about all the burial sites that Granby people used. Well, if there's only two cemeteries and they're both Protestant, you know right away, the Catholics must have used cemeteries elsewhere, and they did. They used the ones in South Alley. All right, so keep that in mind. These are all Protestants. Now we're going to drive around this West Street Cemetery, and I'm going to show you some of the highlights. But you can see a plaque on this old stone in front of you. It says West Cemetery on it. That's the official name. There's a plaque, and it tells you why the cemetery was made and so forth. Well, the reason why it was made because in 1768, Granby separated itself from South Hadley and became a town in its own right. And one of the first things you need is a Protestant church called a meeting house. The second thing you need is a cemetery. This cemetery was made in 1769 off the land of a farmer that lived nearby. And thus, this became Granby's second cemetery because it was the first one. And that was on Metro Street called the North Cemetery. That was made 5 years earlier. And that one I think was made to be a Baptist religion cemetery. Now, if you've been following some of the scenes we've been passing by, you probably see the modern stones. But if you now look to the right, you start to see some of the Victorian era stones. And those are people that mostly were buried between, say, 1860 to 1910. All right, and there are going to be different sections here. And the reason why is this. This land was bought in 3 parcels. There was an old parcel bought. We're not quite there yet. There was a Victorian era parcel bought about 1860, and burials would start to happen in there. And also there was a third parcel, the modern era. And so since 1910, people have been buried more towards the north of this cemetery. So there's 3 distinct sections in this cemetery because of the way the plots of land were bought. All right, so we're going to try to go around to different sections of the cemetery, and then we're going to go out of the cemetery. All right, and I'm going to look once more at this modern section. The reason why we're going to have one of our stops inside this modern section right here, the reason why is because there's an unknown gravestone in there. It says unknown right on it. And I'm going to be able to tell you who it is because in the year 2023, detectives using DNA were able to solve who that person was. She was unknown for 45 years before they figured it out. All right. Now, before we go to the very old part, we've seen 2 sections. Still, we haven't seen the old part. There's one more road to go down. And you notice off to our right, it's all empty. They got lots of space there. So Granby was very wise to buy up all this land because if this cemetery has lasted almost 250 years, over 250 years, you're sure that there's probably another 250 years here, which is great. Plus, if they ever run out of that, then Granby has a lot more space in it. It's not been filled up. All right. So we want to get over to the old spot. Now, the streets that it's on, the cemetery's on the corner of Kellogg Street and West Street. West Street is the one that's typically open. And you can come off Kellogg Street, that's the old entrance, but they don't open that entrance much anymore. And you could also come most of the time from West Street. Alright, so we covered all the Victorian era part, we've covered all the modern sections. We've seen a maintenance building, and we're going to see another one. But we want to go into as much as possible to the old part so you can get a sense of where it is at. And to get there, just drive back on the dirt road. And keep driving back, and keep driving back, and keep driving back till, and I'm not going to be able to bring you all the way, but through the woods about 80 feet more, if we end up going over there, there's the old gravestones from the 1700s. Alright, so on this road tour, we're not going to be able to go there, but that's where it is. And that means you have to go to the absolute southern part of the cemetery to figure it out. There you pause it. Alright, so we're now going out of that old part. You can at least see where it is. And what we're going to do, we're going to drive out of the cemetery, out onto West Street, and I'm going to show you where the tour goers go if they attend a tour with me this year. Because it's not just the West Street Cemetery, it's also going to be going up to the corner of West Street and Amherst Street and seeing where the first church was, the Congregational Church, the meeting house, that was erected for the Granby residents in 1768 in order to have a true town. And it was also a meeting house for governance purposes, right? And it was also where some of the very oldest homes are. And this tour, it has many pieces, and we're going to cut up. This is the part where we stay in the car, but there's also going to be a part where we get out of the car and I show you various things around this area, the cemetery and this little corner up here. Now this is not the Granby Commons. That Granby Commons has a Congregational Church there, but that's the 1860s Congregational Church. The one that was up here is the 1760s Congregational Church. Okay, and this is the corner right here. And at the furthest corner to the right, there's a stone erected that states on it that this is the location of the first meeting house of Granby. That's a big deal because this was considered to be the center of Granby 250 years ago. Now, just beyond it is a large light blue house, and that gorgeous looking home with a garage in the back and a barn that's not painted in the very, very back of it. That house is a very old house, probably from the 1780s. I believe it belonged to the Smith family, and it's quite beautiful. Now, there's another one right beyond it where we won't go there, but what we'll do is we'll back up and I'll show you the house across the street, which is from 1762. Okay, you can see it right now. It's a white house. It's a white house. It has 1762 emblazoned on it. That's a Moody house. And you notice the year, 1762. That means it's older than Granby itself. So that house was part of South Hadley until Granby would break off from it about 6 years later. Now, there's a brick house on our left-hand side, very gorgeous. Also a very, very old house. I think it's another one of the Smith house. And then there's another one right beyond it. That's a white clapboard. We're passing along its side. That's another very gorgeous old home. Okay, and you can see off to your left at barns, or two barns over that at Smith Farm. And we're on Smith Street. This is where the Smith family and the Moody family had the big presence out here. Okay, so that's a tour that will cover it. If you missed it, you can always follow all the stops of it. Thank you very much for coming on this story.